Y'all want to hear some dweeb review albums most boring way ever imagined?
No, God! No, God, please, no!
Hey guys, Scoops here, or Scooter as I'm mostly known by. So after spending countless days of writing a script for this, I decided to make a tier list of Josh A's albums since the subreddit doesn't like spam ever since people have been giving their takes on Tierlist 2. Before I start on this, who is Josh A? In short, Josh A is a Florida rapper that used to be of a zombies YouTuber that made commentary videos and also has a drama with a gnome himself. You can see these archives via, I don't know how to say her name, man, but their channel is in the description in the pinned comments. He's mostly known for two things: collaborating with the Messiah himself, Jake Hill, and looking like Ed Sheeran. He also has a side project called Blue Revive. He basically does experimental shit there, and as of writing this, he's making a new album that's metal based, which got me hyped. And depending if I feel like doing one again or if people want me to do one, I'll probably do a tier list of Blue Revive or Jake Hill. Alright, with that out of the way, let's begin the list. So the albums in D tier don't mean they're the worst thing to ever exist, but I wouldn't consider them great albums in my opinion. First on the list is Josh's newest album, Fearless 2. Now I can make an entire video on why I don't think Fearless 2 is a worthy successor to his predecessor, and which I might do. Or better yet, I recommend Aperture's video on it. He goes into depth why Fearless 2 was the last straw, but in short, it's not what I expected out of Josh. Addressing the elephant in the room, the fans and I were expecting to have a kind of return to form with this album, coming from the fact that we were able to listen to the Fearless and Disgrace era once again, but it ended up being a weird album with some of the cheesiest lines I've ever heard from Josh. Some exceptions that are alright, if not amazing, are Warfare, Lost Kids, I Feel Like Dying, and Vultures. Other than that, the songs on here are pretty mediocre and corny in my opinion. Now, I might get flack for this, but I'm putting Blessed in the same rank, only for a few reasons. Number 1, Blessed 3 is the weakest album in the trilogy, with Blessed 1 having 12 tracks, Blessed 2 having 13, and Blessed 3 only having 6. I wouldn't mind this that much if the tracks on here were great. The tracks on here are alright, I would say. Songs like Lonely Vibes, Legends, and All I Do Is Sit in My House All Day are my only exceptions, with Lonely Vibes carrying the album. Alright, C tier. The albums on here are fairly decent, I would say, but they're not up there with the more iconic ones. First up is Better Off Dead 2. Similar to Blessed 3, Better Off Dead 2 is the shortest in the trilogy with only 5 tracks without the intro and interlude. But unlike Blessed 3, all the songs in here are really good, with my favorites being John Wick, Flex This, and Understand. I would put it up there in A or B tier if there were more tracks on here, but we didn't get all that much, so C tier. But it's good though. Next is Flow Awakens. I don't have much to say on here other than it being better than Self-Entitled, but the songs on here are really nice. My favorite being Real. It's really not talked about in the community, sadly. The albums in B tier are criminally underrated in my opinion, and I feel like they're not talked about a lot when it comes to an album discussion, but I feel like there should be, discussions and stuff about it. The first two are both Retroland 1 and 2. These two albums are sleeper albums in my opinion, and all the songs on first Retroland are top notch. Songs like No Sleep, Cowboy 97, So Wavy, all are insanely slept on in my opinion. Retroland 2 is pretty good too. My only minor complaint about the album is that the fact John Wick, my favorite Double J song, is on here, even though it's on Better Off Dead 2, which makes sense for it to be on there, but on here I just don't get it. Next is Blessed 1, the original. Again, like Retroland 2, the songs from the album King Me, the one that has Keemstar in the intro, are on here. I guess it's a way to make them bigger, even though they're on that album, so they could listen to there from there. Other than that, it's a solid album. I do like the somewhat funny songs he made in Politics that featured Fody, which, it was, something else. Alright, the home stretch. A tier. These might be a little controversial, but again, I like these albums. In my opinion. You have your own opinion. Okay, starting with Lonely Vibes Deluxe. Bit of a hot take here, but the reason why it is in S tier is because I feel like Josh ruined this album with the inclusion of No Mercy, Drit, Bloodlust, and the Painless remixes. Let me elaborate that these songs are amazing. I love the Fearless Revenge-esque style to it, including the drill switch on No Mercy, Drit with the funk beat, and Bloodless with the beat switch in the second verse, but I feel like these songs should just be singles. The other 4 songs are whatever, they're okay, I really don't care about them. But what crossed the line for me is the inclusion of Painless remixes. Like with Blessed 1, you have your own EP! Why should these be on here? But yeah, it's just basically Lonely Vibes, some bonus stuff included. I really wouldn't give a shit about it. Okay, something that doesn't piss me off. Better Rock Dead 3. Maybe it's just because I think the first Better Rock Dead is more nostalgic, but this is just an average Double J album. Songs like Purge, Too Many Dead, which is kind of overrated if you ask me, and Not Afraid of Dying are the ones that stand out for me. Like Flow Awakens, this is just another album that I really don't know what to talk about. I mean, it's solid, but it's not that, it's not that big to talk about, if I'm being honest myself. Alright, let's talk about Blessed 2. Like the albums in B tier, I never see this album get talked a lot. This is obviously my favorite of the three for a few reasons. One is the references to video games like Friday the 13th and Zombies. The amount of Zombies references on the album is insane. I do love the inclusion of Newtown Beyond on that album. I like how they contrast with each other, with Jig bringing out somewhat trap metal lyrics in the hook. Off topic, there was this fairly small YouTuber that made reviews of Josh's albums of Bless 2 and 3, Better Off Dead, and I think Jake's album Spectrum. And he made a review on Bless 2, which was something else, but ever since then I couldn't find his channel. If y'all know what I'm talking about, please let me know in the comments. Last but not least is what I believe is the most underrated Double J album, Chaos. I do love the skits on here, but I feel like the Better Off Dead trilogy is why this album isn't talked about a lot. I do love the bangers on here, like Suicide Forest and To the Grave, but like with The Flow Awakens and Better Off Dead 3, this isn't really that big enough to really talk about here. And here we are, S tier boys. Pretty obvious picks here. They're pretty well known and popular albums, with two possibly being a hot take for an S tier album, but again, my opinion. First album is the first Double J album, and again, my favorite Double J album, Better Off Dead. Overrated for all the right reasons. The songs on here are memorable. Jake's high energy mixed with Josh's somewhat laid back vocals make a banger worthy album, which is what this fucking album is. The second album on here is my personal favorite, Disgrace. I don't know if it's because my dumb 17-year-old emo paranoid driven ass likes Linkin Park and Bring Me the Horizon, but I fucking love this album with all my heart. I love the low monotone vocals Josh uses in songs like January Never Ends, Paranoia, my favorite, Suicide Bends. But I hate how they did my boy Disgrace Josh and Fearless too, with the exception of I Feel Like Dying. Next is a no-brainer, the original Fearless. What can I say? It's the most popular Josh A album. All the songs on here are certified bangers. I love each and every one of these songs. However, my only problem with this album is that the song Pain is the most overplayed song I fucking heard from Josh. Every time Alexa plays a Josh A song, it's the first one that plays. I hear it in a lot of compilations, and it just seems like something X fans would listen to after I listened to it a couple of times. This is a weird pick that y'all might disagree with, and that's Lonely Vibes, the original. I am a sucker for Josh's vocals, and this one takes the crown for my favorite melodic album by him. The Arcando remix for Painless is on here, which is whatever, but it's not as bad as the deluxe version. But other than that, I love all the songs on here, and it really sounds like Josh has put a shit ton of effort into this. No question, Save Our Souls, easily one of the best Double J albums in my opinion. It's the cleanest album that Josh and Jake has ever made to this day, and it's understandable why people put this at the top. The production on this album is top notch, the vocals are out of this fucking world, and it spawned the best music video by them. I'm talking about Cycles. Best album they made together, and it sucks how they will not collab in the near future. Finally, the last album on this godforsaken tier list. Like Lonely Vibes, a bit of a weird take, but again, it's my personal opinion. I'm giving You're Not Alone an S tier. This was the first album that dropped when I became a fan, and man, let me tell you, it was fucking amazing. It has like a fearless vibe to it, which Josh pointed out in one of his podcast episodes. I love both the hard bangers, that being Revenge, Warzone, Omens, and the melodic songs that are in here. Overall, this is my fourth favorite Josh only album, which goes Disgrace, Fearless, Lonely Vibes, and this album. And that's my tier list of Josh A albums. I obviously left some small albums out there like King Me and Self-Titled, but I wanted to rank the more well-known albums in his discography. Of course, this is my opinion. Yours may be different compared to mine, which is totally fine. And yeah, that's all folks. Hope you liked the video, subscribe if you want, and take care.